All right, I'm here at OSCON with Rick Clark. We're in lovely downtown Portland. We just finished the Cloud Summit. Rick, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm doing great, Barton. It's nice to see you again. Long time no see.
Yeah, exactly. It's been about a week, and when I last talked to you, it was the very beginning of the Design Summit. So what I want to ask you about now was, how did the Design Summit go? It was just Friday that it ended. What went better than you thought, or what went as you thought it would be, and what were some of the snafus? It's got to be tough as you're trying to kick off a new project like this.
It was, and I didn't. As I went into it, I wasn't sure exactly what would happen. We had a very large group for the kind of format that we were trying to do. That sort of the Ubuntu open design discussions, like they have at the developer summits. We had, I think, around 150 people, and of that, some were business people that split off, but probably close to 100 people in the technical track, which is it's difficult to have a discussion. In the end, it went very, very well. I mean, we had interesting discussions. Some of the things that I thought we would decide, we decided. Some of the things that I came in thinking, oh, this is a shoo-in, people changed my mind. I was. An interesting one was we went in, I think not just me, but all the developers that are working on this, thinking that everyone's going to say OVF is the standard to use, the open virtualization format, to use for the cloud. Everything should be OVF. Well, people didn't say that. So that was interesting. And that's the great thing about these summits is you go in and you actually hear what people have to say, and they can actually influence the direction of the product.
And how good were people at putting away their biases? And obviously, people have they're for open source, but they also have business agendas for the companies they represent. How do they sort of separate those two?
So we were really, really worried about that, but it just didn't happen at all. I mean, it didn't happen at all. I mean, people came, and surprisingly, they just brought their expertise, which is exactly what we wanted. I thought people would bring agendas, but I don't think anyone brought agendas. If they did, they kept them well hidden. But people did bring their expertise, and I really thank them for it. It was wonderful.
So what would, just to net it out at a high level, what were some of the checkboxes that you got done that you wanted, and what are the ones that are still left to do?
So we got requirements from everyone. We went over a release schedule. We talked about the things that Rackspace wants to do. We talked about the things that NASA wants to do in the first release, and then we got ideas from people there in the community about what they wanted to do in the first release. I'd wanted to, by the end of the summit, and this is probably unrealistic, have it all together on a giant roadmap and all published. I haven't gotten to that bit yet, but I've been traveling nonstop and actually haven't had a normal day since then. But hopefully as soon as we're done with OSCON, I'll get all that together so that we have a full published roadmap of exactly what we're going to do. We know what we're going to do for the next 3 months, pretty much. And we're already starting to get code contributions, which is awesome.
Oh, very good. What about in just the general governance model? I know I saw one article that was saying, governance is going to be the key to how this succeeds or doesn't.
I think it is. I think that we've been. That's another thing that I actually got some feedback from the people at the summit about. We had initially set up. We were thinking of storage and compute as two completely separate projects, and I think we're going to have to rethink that a little bit because the feedback we got from people is that they're going to have the same developers. They want to make sure that processes and policies don't diverge. So we need to feel like the same project. Developers don't need to figure out different ways to interact with OpenStack storage and different ways to interact with OpenStack compute. It needs to be the same. Even if we have separate technical boards that kind of think about make technical decisions for it, we can't diverge too much. It's got to feel like a family. So we're going that we'll probably have to make some changes to that. But overall, I think that I feel pretty confident in sort of the open governance model that we have, where we have not an absolute dictator, but someone at the top enough to make decisions, and a very good technical board to make sure that person doesn't screw up the project.
Is that you?
The person that could screw up the project? Yeah, that's
So, and then
I hope not.
So then, last but not least, just to close with, community building, very much easier said than done. If you want to build a community around it, you can't just have excellent code and expect people to flock. What are you doing to have a community manager, or to actually build community?
So
around
we're right now we're looking for a community manager. So we're hiring a community manager. But before we do that, all of us are kind of acting as the community manager. We're trying to build open forums for communication. We went from, in the last week, we've gone from like 10 people in our IRC channel that we have, hash OpenStack, to 150 this morning. And we were getting people actually adding to the wiki already. So someone added instructions on how to install OpenStack in Red Hat.
Oh, nice!
And which is great. So a community is naturally forming. Now we need to just kind of make sure we keep a handle on it. And what we don't have yet, and what we need is sort of a code of conduct. I want to make sure that we have a community where we treat people very respectfully. That can be a problem in communities, especially when you only communicate online. You can't see people's body language or facial expressions, and there are cultural differences between the people that are in the project, in the community. You can end up with some issues, and I want to make sure that we avoid that. So getting a sort of a code of conduct, that's going to be one of the first things I try to do in the next couple of weeks. Make people sign that to join.
Excellent. Rick Clark, thank you so much.
Thank you, Barton.